The best brands define their PR wow in a clear, concise, and compelling way to attract major media coverage, fans, and sales. Find out their marketing and public relations secrets today on 8 Second Branding with host Liz H. Kelly. Liz is the founder of Goody PR and the author of 8 Second PR. In each episode, she brings you the stories behind some of the best brands, CEOs, and authors. Plus, she explains how media appearances alone are 3 times more valuable than any paid ad. Now, here's your host, Liz Kelly.
Hello, this is Liz Kelly with another exciting episode of 8 Second Branding, the podcast. So today we're so excited. We have a great guest, Penny Sansevieri, who is the CEO of Author Marketing Experts. And she is going to tell us all about the secrets in her book, How to Sell Books by the Truckload on Amazon. So Penny, welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me to be on. It's my pleasure.
Absolutely. And I just want to take a minute to emphasize how important this episode is on Amazon marketing, especially for authors or a business owner with a product where they're selling it on Amazon, because there is a lot more behind the scenes that goes on after you put your product on Amazon. And you need to understand the tools because it really is an art to get your product to show up in their search engine. And that's really what it is. It's a search engine and you need to know how to navigate it. Right now, Amazon is the most popular shopping app in the world. They are the largest book retailer in the world, and they have 48.5 million books on Amazon. That is just incredible. 48.5 million books. So what you really need is to read Penny's book or hire someone like Penny to help you with your Amazon marketing. And then take the time, if you read her book, take the time to go through the steps that we're going to go through in today's episode. So we're glad you're here. Take out a pen, take some notes, and listen carefully because this episode is going to change your life and your book sales. So you have done so many things with marketing and helping authors, but tell us a little bit about your background, and then we want to get into the specific tips about Amazon marketing that are in your book.
So we've been in business for 20 years doing marketing and publicity for authors. And I've written 18 books. One of them, obviously the one that we're talking about today, which is Amazon optimization and Amazon marketing. And, we work with authors in all stages of their book promotion, from the really early, folks who get to us really early to somebody who's been marketing their book for a year and saying, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but nothing's happening. And it does happen from time to time.
Fantastic. Yes, I completely understand. And yeah, it's much better to get help in the beginning.
Yes.
And have a strategy. And that's great that you help authors do that. So with Amazon, we took your book and applied it to our book, the 8 Second PR, on Amazon, and learned so much and went through your step-by-step process. So we really highly recommend that people get the book. So the first step I want to talk about is the keywords and coming up with the right keywords and how you use them on Amazon, because so many people don't even know this. And let me just say that Amazon is one of the top search engines out there. So you really want to get this right.
Well, what's interesting about Amazon is that Jeff Bezos was an early investor in Google. So a lot of what Google does for optimization, Amazon is very, very similar. And keywords is a big part of that. And a lot of times when authors put their books up on Amazon, or when the publisher puts their books up on Amazon, they pick a singular keyword like memoir or self-help or romance. But what we know is that consumers, the more keywords that consumers type into a search bar, be that Google or Amazon, the closer that they are to a buy. So when I'm looking at keywords for the author, I'm looking at consumer trends, but I'm also looking at keyword strings. So I'm not just doing one singular keyword to hope for the best. Because if you go onto Amazon and you type in romance or you type in self-help, I mean, you just get flooded with a bunch of stuff that, you're going to spend a lot of time weeding through. And it's very easy to get lost in that jungle of 4,500 books being published every day in this country. So
that's so interesting that Jeff Bezos had that connection with Google, and that makes a lot of sense. So I want to take it a step further, because I got really granular in following your steps, and that is that the keywords follow in everything. So it means the title, it means the description, and it means when you're doing Amazon advertising that you're using the right keywords. So can you talk a little bit about some of those steps and how the keywords apply?
Well, I mean, the keywords are, so you mentioned the book title. Using keywords in a book title is not always possible. I think mostly for nonfiction, and obviously, if your book is published, that ship has already sailed. But you can use keywords in your subtitle. I like using keywords in the Amazon book description, and sometimes I'll use the same keywords in Amazon ads, but typically I'm doing 300 to 400 keywords in Amazon ads. So I'm looking for a lot more keywords. But the idea really is that you want to get out in front of your consumer. So you're looking for keywords that how your consumer is finding the book, right? And most consumers are super particular, even if you've written a cozy mystery, right? For example, cat cozy mysteries are, have been trending for a while, right? Specific cozy mysteries involving a cat, right? So those are the kinds of things that you really want to, understand about putting together your keyword strings, because it's really about getting in front of the right consumer and knowing what that consumer is looking for. And it takes a little bit of time. It's difficult to explain the process just in a podcast without a lot of visuals and PowerPoints and things like that. But it takes a little bit of time to find those keywords. But once you spend a little bit of time, you start to kind of see trend. You're like, oh, this makes a lot of sense for my book, or this is a benefit. So for example, if you wrote a business book, right? Starting a business, I would say, let's get super granular, right? Let's look at who is this start a business book really for? And you may come back and say, well, people who are starting a business. Okay. Is there a particular type of business? Like what are you focused on in this book? What are the elements that we can then use in keywords? And what are some of the things that you cover? Because most books about starting a business, they're going to take either sort of a motivational approach, right? Or they're going to be more tactile. And so you need to really understand. And sometimes I realize it's hard for authors to do that because we're really too close to our own stuff. So it's always good to work with somebody who can help you sort of pull apart your book and say, okay, here are the elements that your readers are going to be looking for. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that that's a great tip out there for the listeners. And that is, it's always good to work with someone else and get someone else's opinion, because you're trying to reach your audience and you're so into your own work. Sometimes it's hard to see what the obvious keywords are. Mm-hmm. For example, one of the things I did, which was a tip in your book, is that I looked at, what are the top books in public relations and who are my competitors. And then one of them was PR for Dummies, because 8-Second PR is kind of a how to do PR. So it's a step-by-step like PR for Dummies. So based on your advice, I went in and put that keyword in the book description on Amazon. And then I have an Amazon ad running with that keyword PR for Dummies.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, they're not thinking that way because they're only thinking about their book.
Right, exactly. And I think that's why it's helpful to sort of step outside of your own kind of, box, as it were, and talk to somebody or work with somebody who can help you to take this book up to the next level. I mean, I don't even write my own book descriptions because I'm too close to my own to my own books, and other people get their hands on the book description and they come up with all sorts of benefits. So I think it's always wise to bring somebody else in who can help you to evaluate where your book needs to be, because at the end of the day, Amazon, as you pointed out, is just one big search engine, right? So if your book is not, and that's the other piece of it too, is that if your book is not showing up in searches relevant to your book, Amazon scores everything that's on their website, right? Much like Google does. So if you have a website on Google that you have done nothing with, right? You threw the website up 5 years ago, you never posted a blog, you never added images, nothing. Google's going to say, I don't think I'm going to show that website to people searching for book marketing or book publicity because, there's no traffic going to the site and nothing's been done with it. So eventually your website winds up on page 54 of Google. Amazon's the same way. So you have to consistently, I mean, I like to make changes to like my Amazon book page, adding reviews. And honestly, it's the small details that really make a big difference, in particular to your reader.
That is a really good point, the small details. And I think a lot of people, they throw up a book description and they're not really thinking about the importance of that book description. And I love what you said about making sure your website is updated. It's really a whole marketing engine that you're working on with as an author.
Right.
Another thing that you talk about in your book is the author bio, and I've noticed on some Amazon pages they don't have an author bio page. So can you talk about the importance of that and how that works?
Well, that takes us to the Author Central conversation. And Author Central pages on Amazon get 1 billion hits a year. So if you're listening to this or watching this, and you think, oh, I haven't really done anything with my Author Central page, you better get on it. Add your bio. And the other thing to consider too is that it's not just about go in there and add your bio or go in there and add your blog, because you can link your blog to your Author Central page. But it's about adding the things that are going to be appealing to your reader. So readers like to know who they're buying a book from, right? We like to know. Goodreads did a study a few years ago and found that the number one thing that readers want at the end of the book is to connect with the author. So having a thoughtful bio up there, maybe adding, you can do so much with the Author Central pages. You can add more details to your book page, like a book excerpt, additional reviews that maybe didn't make it into onto your Amazon reviews. There's a lot that you can do. And so many times I see that authors just completely overlook it, or there's no author picture, or, those tiny details. Spend an hour tweaking your Amazon book page and you will be surprised. One of the things that I wanted to mention is that when authors come to me and they say, I've been running Facebook ads or I've been running Amazon ads and I'm getting lots of clicks, but I'm not getting lots of buys, I can almost guarantee you it has to do with your Amazon book page. Absolutely.
Wow. Really, really
so
interesting.
Important, and it's so overlooked.
I think you're right. And I think a lot of people, they think it's a quick thing to throw their book up on Amazon, and it's not a quick thing. And I highly recommend that you read Penny's book because it will take you through all these steps. And another thing that I learned in your book was about how to make your book available to international audiences. So can you talk about that?
Well, on the Amazon platform, it automatically goes on to the other portals, but Amazon continues to expand on those portals, right? So one of the things that I recommend that you do is check out your Amazon Author Central pages in France and in Italy and in Canada and in the UK, and make sure that they mirror your US one. And it's super simple to do. But it's just a matter of, you want to get in there and make sure. A lot of times Amazon will copy the information over to all of those pages, but not always. One of the reasons why I like the Author Central, not just because it adds some personality to your book, but one of the most frustrating things that I find is that when an author has, let's say, multiple books on a platform, whether that's an international platform or a US, if you haven't worked on your Author Central page, all those books are going to show up just randomly on Amazon. But if you have, so like, for example, if you go to my Author Central page, which is customized, and it's amazon.com/therealbookgal, you'll see that all my books fall under my name. So if you search me, you find all of my books under the same umbrella. It will help to increase your sales because it's easier to find your books. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And people fall in love with authors. It's not just the book. Mm-hmm. So you want to have your personality out there. And yes. Also in Author Central, you can add videos. And I've added some videos now based on reading your book, mm-hmm. to add some more flavor. And then if something happens, like 8-second PR is now being used by UCLA Extension in one of the classes as a textbook, you go add it to your bio and you update your bio. And so based on what you're saying, it's good to make those updates.
It's definitely good to make those updates. I mean, you really want to be, again, you want to be thoughtful about all of the free stuff that Amazon gives you to enhance your book. And the other thing, you mentioned video. I love doing video shorts on the Amazon book page. So you can just record a short video and pop it up onto your Amazon book page. And it's a great way for readers to get to know you.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit. I know we've got about maybe 10 minutes left. Let's talk a little bit about how you set up an Amazon advertising campaign, because that was something new to me also. It's not that complicated, but I think most people just don't even know it's an option.
Well, the Amazon advertising, you can access that through your KDP portal. So it says, marketing, there's a marketing tab and you can click over. One of the things that I encourage, so when I run Amazon ads for our authors, one of the things that I like to remind them of is that at the onset, you're probably going to spend a little bit of money on clicks that aren't necessarily getting buys. So for example, I like to start with 400 keywords. I like to experiment with automatic ads. I like to do product placement ads as well, because you never know which of the three is going to start to generate revenue, right? So, but what you want to do is you want to watch the ads closely, because as your ads age, you'll start to see which keywords you really want to keep watching. And while I may start with a huge number, towards the end, if I'm managing a campaign, let's say for 6 weeks, by the end of 6 weeks, I may be only looking at 10 keywords. But the idea is that you want to cast the net wide. So what I keep doing is I keep paring down the keywords that are not converting, that aren't really doing anything for the book. But you do want to stay on top of it. Now you can limit your ad spend budget. I usually recommend starting at $20 a day per ad set. But you can do $5 a day. You can do more than that if you want to. The thing to keep in mind about Amazon ads is that there is a bit of organic optimization that comes from these ads, right? So, and by that I mean is that when you start to run ads for particular keywords, not only will you show up as a sponsored book under that keyword, but you'll also start to show up organically. And that's one of the reasons that I really like these ads so much, is because they do help to spike your organic optimization, right? I like to start ads early. So if I have a book up for pre-order, I usually like to start ads 2 weeks before the launch date. And I may not see any sales in that 2 weeks, but it helps to sort of churn the optimization and get some visibility to that book so that it launches strongly.
That is so helpful and incredible. I have so many questions, but the one thing I want to ask about that really stuck with me is you start with 400 keywords.
Mhm.
So what's the process? What keyword, I guess, tool do you use? Do you have it all in Excel? How do you figure that out?
So I'm not a fan of using any kind of keyword tools. I know there are a lot of keyword tools out there. I do everything. I know this sounds very sort of 1950s, but I do everything organically on Amazon because I'm looking for consumer preferences. And the issue with keyword tools is that so let me give you an example, right? When you start to type in keywords into the Amazon search bar, it drops down, it'll give you that drop down, that sort of intuitive search, but those aren't necessarily popular searches. Those are just best guesses that Amazon sort of comes up with. Keyword tools I find kind of the same way. So typically what I'll do to make it really quick when I'm looking really quick, I mean, I still spend about an hour trying to find these keywords, is I'll start with the Amazon optimization keyword. So I'll start there. And then I pull together books and authors. So unlike with Amazon book optimization, where you cannot use book titles or author names in your keywords, you can use those in your Amazon ads. So I literally go through within the genre, the top bestsellers, and I just start pulling them together. I always look for top books, obviously, because we want books that are getting lots of momentum. We want that book to show up with a book that's doing well in sales. But the other thing to note about Amazon ads is Amazon is currently experimenting with putting the ads out on Google, which is pretty big, right? So when you search on Google, you might pull up Google ads, but you may also pull up Amazon ads too. So that's something that they haven't rolled out yet. It's kind of in beta. You see it sort of from time to time, but that's really where Amazon's going with these ads.
That is so interesting. So working with all these authors and writing 18 books, that's just incredible. What do you think is like the most important tip for an author looking at Amazon? Like, where should they start?
Well, I mean, I think that if it seems overwhelming, if you come away from this podcast thinking, oh, I'm so overwhelmed, start with the things that you can manage. Start with the details. Start with making sure that your book description is the best that it can be. Add a thoughtful review to the intro of your book description, because people like what other people like. So leading in a book description with a review, even if it appears in your Amazon reviews, excerpt a piece of it and cite, make sure that there's a correct citation on there and add it to the top of your, to your book description. Make sure that your book description has enough white space, because we don't read, we scan. If you have a nonfiction book, make sure that you have bullet points. You can use bolding. I mean, those are some small things that authors can do almost immediately that will really help with their exposure on Amazon. And as you start to get more familiar with, okay, I think I'm going to dip my toe into, some of this keyword stuff, you can't break your book unless you violate Amazon's terms of service. Putting in a bad keyword isn't necessarily going to cause Amazon to pull your book off their system unless you use another author name or a book title like that they don't allow. But I really recommend that authors experiment with that. And as I said, really start to work on your author central pages, because those are really underused.
That is so helpful. I really appreciate your tips on that. So I'm trying to think, what else should we cover that you haven't covered, because you covered so many great things. The categories and the subcategory. How do you pick the right category and subcategory for a book?
Well, one of the things that I like to do is that with Amazon, so when you load your book up on Amazon, you're allowed 2 main categories. But I like to go into the back end, and I like to look for categories, mostly under ebook categories, because they tend to be the most creative. So if you're on the ebook side of Amazon and you look down the left-hand side of the page, you'll see a bunch of drop downs, right? So you have, fiction, genre fiction, women's fiction, self-help, business, etc. And as you start to click on those, they will give you more and more and more drop downs. Those are all categories. So I recommend that you find 10 of those that you like and contact Amazon through Amazon Author Central. This is why you want to familiarize yourself with the platform and ask them to make those changes, because they will put you into an additional 10 categories on top of what you selected when you published the book or when you uploaded the book to the Amazon portal.
Wow, that is so helpful. I never knew that. Great. All right. And the other thing that I am doing with a client next week that maybe you could talk about is book promotions. We're going to do a ebook book promotion. So the book's free for 3 days. Do you recommend those?
I like doing ebook promotions. I mean, I think I selectively pick doing freebies only because I think that we have, like, I don't want anybody to feel like they have to do a free ebook promotion, because we all have a lot of books on our Kindle devices or our Kindle apps, right? So I think we have a little bit of digital fatigue. I love doing ebook promotions. I would say, think about maybe reducing the price. You can absolutely make it free, but I do take it on a case-by-case basis. But I love doing ebook promotions. I like to do them just ahead of the book launch. So if the book launches, let's say on Monday, I'll do an ebook promotion on Sunday. So people can, to help boost the pre-orders. I try not to do them too early because I'm not a fan of big, long pre-orders anyway. I just think unless you're a big household name, people don't usually wait for a book. But I do like doing ebook promotions, absolutely.
Fantastic. So as we wrap up, is there anything else that we forgot to cover that you want to bring up?
No, I mean, I think that it's just, I think that a lot of authors, as you said, throw their books up on Amazon and kind of hope for the best. And Amazon really has a lot of tools that an author can use outside of, obviously the ads that we talked about, but there are a lot of tools on Amazon to help you gain more visibility and using your Author Central page. And also you can connect to Amazon through your Author Central page. So if you ever need anything fixed, if your book cover, needs to be replaced or whatever, and you can't figure out how to do it, the Author Central people are super helpful and almost always available. So I think, my advice would be start to explore Amazon if you haven't already done so, and see how you can spike you might be surprised. I've taught these Amazon classes and had people, like at conferences, and had people go to their hotel rooms and change up their keywords, and literally, within a few hours, they're starting to see their sales ranks doing better. So small changes can have a big impact.
I love that. Small changes can have a big impact. That's perfect. Well, this has just been so great. So can you tell everybody where we can find you if people have questions?
Absolutely. So you can reach us. So my website is amarketingexpert.com. We have a lot of information there. We have a very active blog there too. And you can reach me at info@amarketingexpert.com. We also have we have an Amazon video training course and all kinds of good stuff, and that you can access through our website too. So, but thank you so much for inviting me to be on. This was really fun.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you were, after reading your book, you were on the top of my list because you just opened so many doors for me as an author, and it just helped me so much. So we are so grateful to you. And so everybody, please go to Penny's website and amarketingexperts.com and buy the book, How to Sell Books by the Truckload, on Amazon, which just had a new version come out in January.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me to be on the show.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening, and go check out Penny's book and come back for more episodes of 8 Second Branding, the podcast.
Do you want to increase your sales and word of mouth marketing by constantly being in headline news? Instead of getting lost at a big agency, Goody PR specializes in VIP service, where making your business look good is their top priority. Goody PR founder and best-selling author Liz H. Kelly has been there, done that, and built a team of PR professionals who have booked thousands of major media interviews for clients, including The Today Show, CNN, Fox News, BBC, NPR, and many, many more. Let them partner with you to find ways to magnify your brand so it emotionally connects and reaches your ideal audience. And the best part is that media interviews are 3 times more valuable than any paid ad. What are you waiting for? Email info@goodypr.com today. Set up a call to discuss how to get your story and business moving forward. That's info@goodypr.com. Thank you for tuning in for this edition of 8-Second Branding. Keep checking back for new shows featuring your host, Liz H. Kelly, on the Voice America Business Channel.